Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Nara Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudiraye Nashtaprayeshu Abhatreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, thank you so much for joining in. So, Priyanka, we completed the 7th chapter, right? And we are moving on to the 8th chapter.
Yes, Mataji, we completed that part.
The 8th chapter. So, if you see in the 7th chapter, where he's saying that so the importance of even distributing this Bhagavatam there. So he gives the importance of distributing the Bhagavatam in the 51st and the 52nd shloka, where he says that please distribute this Bhagavatam, which is a collection of the Lord's vibhutis, spoken by the Lord personally to me. Brahmaji is actually telling. And he is describing the incarnations with determination. So he is expecting us also that please describe it with determination in such a way which will give rise to bhakti in all living entities. So now if you see, bhakti over here is actually characterized by hearing and chanting about the Lord's Leela Avtaras, which are all spiritual and blissful. But the pastimes of the Purusha Avtaras dealing with, the Maya Shakti, they are all related to Maya. So somebody might ask that, should one describe Maya or not? So in the 53rd shloka, he's saying that if one is constantly describing Maya in relation to the Lord and remembers Maya or hears about Maya with proper faith, then he will not be bewildered by Maya. So that is why he is saying that it is important for us to hear the Maya in relation to God. How to see both Krishna and Maya standing next to each other. So if I'm remembering Krishna, then I won't be attacked by Maya. And if I don't remember Krishna, then I will definitely be attacked by Maya. So in the previous also, if you see the previous shlokas also, that all the yogis and the sannyasis and even in this whole text has been actually given that what are the qualities of Paramatma, Brahman and Bhagwan. So these three, Paramatma, Brahman and Bhagwan, they are, they are actually the three aspects of the Supreme Lord. And if we study them properly, so we'll know that within the Bhagwan aspect, the other two aspects are also included. So within Bhagwan, the Brahman also and the Paramatma, they both are included in it. And that is why we see, even in the Madhurya Kadambini, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that there is no requirement of prior purity to practice bhakti. Whereas there is a requirement of purity in all other practices. Whether you want to be a Jnana yogi or an Ashtanga yogi, you have to purify your senses to go to the next level. You have to purify your mind to go to the next senses. And there he says that there is not even the requirement of even prior faith. One can practice bhakti without faith also, in the sense that those activities, when performed even without faith, they can generate faith. Like Shraddhayat or Helava in the 6th canto also is saying that when even the holy name is chanted with faith or in a joking way, without any malice, then that act of chanting in a joking way also, it has the ability to generate that faith. But in all other practices like karma kanda or nishkam karma yoga, if a person does an activity without faith, then that has no effect. So there is no prior requirement of faith in bhakti. Even in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, the second chapter, in the 14th shloka, it says that at all times and under all circumstances, whatever level that person may be, or whatever level of purity, one can take up to this practice of bhakti. So, men in the mode of goodness, they will worship the demigods. Those in the passion, they will worship the demons. And those in the mode of ignorance, they will worship ghosts and spirits. So, why does Krishna mention the devotees in actually this 7th chapter, or in the text of even the Bhagavad-gītā 17.4, there he is mentioning that anybody is worshipping these ghosts, they are in the mode of ignorance, because that is not a qualification to worship the Supreme Lord. One can be in any mode also, but the qualification is that he should be what do you say, he should have that particular inclination to do at that particular activity. So if if you see, there is no prior even what do you say, training required for even serving a devotee, or so even in this 7th chapter he was saying that, I think it is in the 46th shloka, he's saying that yadi adbhuta krama parayana shila shikshas. So he's saying that those whose acts are so wonderful, those who are devotees, and those who are even trained by so only by following in the footsteps of those people. So people of any of these 3 modes can take up to worship of the Supreme Lord, whereas a person in the mode of passion would never worship a demigod. He will worship only a yaksha or rakshasa, because that mode would push him to that worship, and in that way, not that the mode does not push the devotee, because one cannot say for practicing devotional service one has to have that prior exposure or prior conditioning, and it is a disadvantage to take up to pure devotional service. Of course, it may be an obstacle in this steady practice of devotional service, but definitely to take up to devotional service, no mode is a favorable mode. So no mode gives rise to bhakti, not even mode of goodness. So bhakti only gives rise to bhakti. Bhakti will give rise to bhakti. So after one takes up to devotional service, when the mode of goodness is, there, it is favoring bhakti. But to take up to the devotional service, mode of goodness does not give any special favor that way. And in the so that is why training is very important, and that is why for all of us, like even for myself, I'm considering, I am also actually training myself, I'm training others also, and I'm training myself also to be firmly fixed in devotional service, so that I don't budge an inch, or I don't deviate even an 1 degree also deviation from this particular path. Because see, sometimes if you see in the airplane, 1 degree of deviation, instead of the plane landing somewhere in Europe, it will land somewhere a different place. It will either land in South Africa or somewhere else. So we don't want that deviation. So one should have the desire to have this training and want to become like those pure devotees. So like, oh yeah, this pure devotee is trained so wonderfully. Even I want to be, trained like him. And I also want to excel in bhakti. So that desire a particular person should have. And if you see in the previous chapter also, where all these qualities of the aspects of the absolute truth are mentioned, the Paramatma, the Bhagwan, and the Brahman. And there is a vivid description which is establishing the superiority of the path of bhakti over the other paths to attain, Brahman and Paramatma. So, the first 2 lines of that particular 47th shloka is describing the Paramatma feature of the Lord. And what is that Paramatma? He is eternally peaceful, he is fearless, he is pure, he is bestowing knowledge, and he is equal to all. He is Shuddham. And the Brahman aspect also is describing is Brahman is full of unlimited happiness, free from grief, and it is indescribable by words. It is formless, and it is one of the aspects of the Bhagwan. So when you say Bhagwan, Maya being ashamed cannot stand before the Lord. His Swarupa is, you can say that it is inexpressible by words, although sometimes described by comparing it to some visible objects like the sun or the moon or something, so that his devotees can, meditate on him. So all these qualities of the Brahman are equally seen in the Bhagwan also. All the qualities of the Paramatma, they are seen in the Bhagwan feature also. So the Bhagwan feature, he takes the wheel to protect Arjuna from Bhishma. But in his Paramatma feature, he is just ever peaceful. So imagine the Bhagwan feature is such a reciprocative feature of the Supreme Lord. Paramatma is not reciprocating. Paramatma is in our heart. He is doing only 2 functions. Either he is sanctioning or either he is witnessing. But Bhagwan over here is very active with his devotees. So even when I am reading the Bhagavatam, the Supreme Lord is active in my heart. He is hearing what I am reading, and whatever I'm absorbing, the Lord is acknowledging me, the Lord is equally reciprocating with me. And this is the greatness of the Bhagwan feature of the Lord. And all the yogis and the sannyasis who concentrated their mind on the Brahman and the Paramatma feature, they finally gave up the sadhana on seeing the non-difference, being indifferent to that practice. So as much like Indra is indifferent to digging a well, which means that the path to realize Brahman and Paramatma are inferior to bhakti. because those practitioners also give up those practices after achieving that goal. So now a Brahmavadi has attained, Brahman realization, he'll give up that path. But bhakti is such a path, as I previously also told, I think in the end of the second chapter or the third chapter, that bhakti with Shravanam, Kirtanam remain even after going back home, back to Godhead. So the goal of bhakti is to please the Supreme Lord. The sadhana of the jnanis and the yogis have very limited utility before one reaches that qualification also. There is no use of that sadhana after achieving that goal also, because there is because once they have attained that particular path, then they leave that particular sadhana. So it has only a limited scope, so that sadhana is inferior. So here he is comparing the perfected jnanis and yogis to Indra. So when one merges into the Brahman, right, after doing the sadhana, then there is no use of that sadhana after that. But bhakti is not like that. Even after achieving perfection, one can gain much more by the practice of devotional service or bhakti. And even without qualification of faith also, when one practices bhakti, even ignorantly, jokingly, he chants that name also of the Supreme Lord, he will still benefit. Whereas one without qualification of jnana, one's heart is not yet purified. If he practices any limb of jnana, it will not give any result. The path of bhakti has the utility at all the stages before one is achieving that qualification, after one achieves that qualification, and after one achieves that goal also. Under all the three stages, there is utility of any of the limbs of bhakti. Whereas this is not the case with the practice of jnana yoga or Ashtanga yoga or karma yoga. So what explanation Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives, that Prabhupada is actually now he's comparing the devotees to Indra, because other people who are lesser than Indra, who are struggling for water, they may have to dig that well. And here actually the digging of the well, you can say in the Bhagavatam, is compared to the practice of Jnana Yoga and Karma Yoga. But one who is a bhakti, one who is a bhakta, he is compared to Indra. Such a person, he need not go through all these artificial austerities to control his mind. He automatically achieves it by engaging his senses in the service of the Supreme Lord. So what is the need for Indra to dig a well? What is the need for a devotee to perform such artificial attempts to control his mind and his senses? So this is how Srila Prabhupada is also translating in his purports, that either way bhakti is glorified. So in the first case, the yogi and the jnanis are compared to Indra. Their sadhana is also compared to digging a well. And in the second case, it is compared. So the devotees are compared to Indra, and the same sadhana is compared to digging the well. So whatever can be achieved by all of the processes is automatically achieved by the devotees. So why will anybody go to become a jnani? So one may say that, why should I worship the Supreme Lord? My aim is to merge into the Supreme Lord. My aim is to merge into the Brahman. And I would rather worship the Brahman feature of the Lord only. If I want to get some siddhi, then I would worship the Paramatma feature of the Lord. Why should I worship the Bhagwan feature? The goal is actually different. I don't mind giving up the sadhana as long as I achieve my goal. So here in this particular 7th chapter, Brahmaji is clarifying very clearly that no, whatever your goal may be, everyone should worship the Supreme Lord. One's goal may be to merge in the Brahman. One's goal may be, but but their object should be only Bhagwan. And even in the 9th chapter of the Bhagavad-gītā, if you see very chronologically, Krishna is explaining in that 9th chapter, what is that verse? It is, I think, the 9th chapter is 12th verse. 9th chapter, I think it is the from the 8th verse to the 12th verse, but the verse is, I'm sure it is 12th. Yeah, he says that those who are bewildered are attracted by demonic and atheists. They are in a deluded condition, and their hopes of liberation and their fruitive activities in their culture of knowledge, they are also defeated. So, uh, uh, so one's object of worship cannot be Brahman. Object of worship has to be Bhagavan only. So the goal of worship may be different, but the object of worship has to be Bhagavan. One may say that I have started the process, but I do not know if I have sufficient time to perfect, that process. So in this one lifetime, Brahmaji is saying that no problem. The jiva is unborn and the jiva does not die. When the body dissolves, the jiva, actually stays carrying over whatever benefits he has gained by this practice of sadhana bhakti. So he carries it over to the next body also. And he gets a very favorable atmosphere where he will continue from where he has left off. So any spiritual practice, be it Ashtanga Yoga, Gyan Yoga, Karma Yoga, the body does not dissolve. Sorry, the body does dissolve, but the soul does not dissolve. So the soul carries over the next body, and even the Gyanis who want to merge into the Brahman, he can achieve it by worshipping the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. So therefore, those who merge into the Brahman are not worshippers of Brahman. They are worshippers of the Supreme Personality of Godhead only. But they have a desire to merge into the Brahman feature of the Supreme Lord. So, very, very, it's very important that we also understand these clarities so that tomorrow we can explain it to others. So, there is oneness between the Lord and the living entity, but there is Achinta Bheda Ved Tattva also. There is oneness also, but there is a difference. What is the difference? That Krishna is Vibhu and I am Anu. I am small. Krishna is infinite and I am finite. I have my own limitations. So that difference a particular person really needs to understand. So with this, this very, the quick explanation where the unpretentious surrender, they're attracting mercy. When you attract mercy, you understand Krishna, and when you understand Krishna, you can cross over the material ocean. So we'll move to the 8th chapter of the 2nd canto. Let me just share the screen with you all. Sorry. Yeah. So in this now this particular chapter, how does it start? It starts that Parikshit Maharaj is inspiring now Shukdev Goswami to speak Harikatha. So now Shukdev Goswami comes into picture. So from here, Shukdev Goswami will start speaking. So Parikshit inquired from Shukdev Goswami that, please speak about Narad Muni. How did he preach? To whom, and how he explained about his qualities of the transcendental Lord. So these were some of the questions that will be asked by Parikshit Maharaj to Shukdev Goswami, and then Shukdev Goswami will speak. So now if you see this 8th chapter, this is also one nectarian chapter that, Parikshit Maharaj is asking very intelligent questions. So let's go ahead and see. So Raja Uvacha, why? Because Parikshit Maharaj is asking these questions. Raja Uvacha Brahmana Chodita Brahman Gunakhyane Gunasya cha Yasmai Yasmai Yatha Praha Narado Deva Darshana. Sushil Prabhu, please do the honors of reading the translation and purport if you're there.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. He's not there, Mataji.
Prabhu, yeah, you do the honors of reading the translation and purport both.
Thank you. Translation. King Parikshit inquired from Shukdev Goswami, how did Narada Muni, whose hearers are as fortunate as those instructed by Lord Brahma, explain the transcendental qualities of the Lord, who is without material qualities and before whom did he speak? Purport. Devarshi Narada was directly instructed by Brahmaji, who was also directly instructed by the Supreme Lord. Therefore, the instructions imparted by Narada to his various disciples are as good as those of the Supreme Lord. That is the way of understanding Vedic knowledge. It comes down from the Lord by disciplic succession, and this transcendental knowledge is distributed to the world by this descending process. There is no chance, however, to receive the Vedic knowledge from mental speculators. Therefore, wherever Narada Muni goes, he represents himself as authorized by the Lord, and his appearance is as good as that of the Supreme Lord. Similarly, the disciplic succession, which strictly follows the transcendental instructions, is the bona fide chain of disciplic succession. And the test for such bona fide spiritual masters is that there should be no difference between the instruction of the Lord originally imparted to his devotee and that which is imparted by the authority in the line of disciplic succession. How Narada Muni distributed the transcendental knowledge of the Lord will be explained in later cantos. It will appear also that the Lord existed prior to the material creation, and therefore his transcendental name, quality, etc., do not represent any material quality. Whenever, therefore, the Lord is described as a guna or without any quality, it does not mean that, but that he has no material quality, such as the modes of goodness, passion, or ignorance, as the conditioned souls have. He is transcendental to all material conceptions, and thus he is described as a guna. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Next we have, oh, this is a very nice shloka. Etat vedatam ichhami tattvam tattvavidambara haret adbhuta virasya katha loka sumangala. Vrinda, please read the translation and purport both.
Translation. The king said, I wish to know. Narrations concerning the Lord, who possesses wonderful potencies, are certainly auspicious for living beings in all planets. Purport. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, which is full of narrations of the activities of the Supreme Lord, is auspicious for all living beings residing in every planet. One who takes it as a belonging to a particular section is certainly mistaken. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is certainly a cheer for all the devotees of the Lord. But it is auspicious even for the non devotees also, because it explains that even the non devotees hovering under the spell of material energy can be delivered from such clutches if they hear the narration of the Śrīmad Bhagavatam with devotion and attention from the right source representing the Lord by disciplic succession. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. Yeah. So, Parikshit Maharaj is saying that, O Brahmana, O best of the knowers of the truth, he's speaking to Shukdev Goswami. he's saying that I desire to know exactly the truth, tattvam. I need to know that truth, tattvam. That Narada, a seer of Krishna, why Narada Deva Darshana, and taught by and whom he was taught by? He was taught by Brahma, and who he spoke to? He spoke to the others. So while explaining the qualities of the Lord, who is without material qualities, Krishna is, guna khayana. So he's saying that all these, who is without material qualities, and the topics of the Lord, who has very astonishing powers, are all auspicious for the world. Sumangala, Harer Adbhutta Viryasya, and they are all auspicious. Sumangala. So that is why he's saying that please describe the activities of the Lord. जो भी ये सुनेगा उसका मंगल ही होने वाला है. Anybody reading the Bhagavatam or anybody hearing the activities of the Bhagavatam, there can not be any inauspiciousness in his life. Those inauspicious may be so-called inauspiciousness, but uske जीवन में कभी भी inauspiciousness not come. This is a firm faith in all the pure devotees also. So then in the third shloka, he says that please continue to speak. So, it's so nice. I was just thinking right now that what is the way to approach an exalted devotee? To request him that please speak the highest truth for me. Don't compromise on speaking the highest truth. Don't twist and turn by speaking the highest truth. So he's requesting Shukdev Goswami. So he's saying that Kathayasva Mahabhaga Yata Ham Khilatmani Krishne Niveshya Nisanga Manasatyakshe Kalevaram. So he's saying that, yeah. Anuprabhu, please read the translation and purport both.
Translation: O greatly fortunate Shukadev Goswami, please continue narrating Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam so that I can place my mind upon the Supreme Soul, Lord Krishna, and, being completely freed from material qualities, thus relinquish this body. Purport: to be fully engaged in hearing the transcendental narration described in the text of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam means to constantly associate with the Supreme Soul, Sri Krishna. And to constantly associate with the Supreme Lord Krishna means to be liberated from the qualities of matter. Lord Krishna is like the sun, and material contamination is like darkness. As the presence of the sun dissipates darkness, constant engagement in the association of the Lord Sri Krishna frees one from the contamination of the material qualities. Contamination by the material qualities is the cause of repeated birth and death, and liberation from material qualities is transcendence. Maharaj Pariksit was now a realized soul by this secret of liberation through the grace of Shukadev Goswami. For the latter had informed the king that the highest perfection of life is to be in remembrance of Narayana at the end of life. Maharaj Pariksit was destined to give up his body at the end of 7 days, and thus he decided to continue remembering the Lord by his association with the topics of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, and thus to quit his body in full consciousness of the presence of the Lord Sri Krishna, the Supreme Soul. The hearing of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam performed by professional men is different from the transcendental hearing of Maharaj Pariksit. Maharaj Pariksit was a soul realized in the absolute truth, Śrī Krishna, the personality of Godhead. The fruitive materialist is not a realized soul. He wants to derive some material benefit from his so-called hearing of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Undoubtedly, such an audience, hearing Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam from the professional man, can derive some material benefit as they desire, but that does not mean that such a pretense of hearing Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam for a week is as good as the hearing of Maharaj Parikshit. It is the duty of the sane to hear Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam from a self-realized soul and not be duped by professional men. One should continue such hearing till the end of one's life, so that one can actually have the transcendental association of the Lord and thus be liberated simply by hearing Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Maharaj Parikshit had already given up all his connections with his kingdom and family, the most attractive features of materialism, but still he was conscious of his material body. He wanted to be free of such bondage also by the constant association of the Lord. Thank you, Maji.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much. So, this is showing Parikshit Maharaj's efforts to remember the Supreme Lord. So, imagine at the time of death, he's taking so much of efforts to remember that. Please describe me in detail. So, okay. So, after, if somebody is very eager to remember the Lord, then what happens to him then? The next shloka is saying that Shinvata Shraddhaya Nityam Granthascha Swacheshtitam Kalena Nati Dirghena Bhagavan Vishate Ridhi. Yeah, Priyanka, please read this important shloka, fourth wala.
Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Translation. Persons who hear Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam regularly and are always taking the matter very seriously will have the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna manifested in their hearts within a short time. Purport. Cheap devotees or materialistic devotees of the Lord are very much desirous to see the Lord personally without meeting the requisite qualifications. Such third-grade devotees should know well that material attachment and seeing the Lord face to face cannot go together. It is not such a mechanical process that the professional Bhagavatam reciters can do the job on behalf of the third-grade materialistic pseudo-devotee. The professional men are useless in this connection because they are neither self-realized nor interested in the liberation of the audience. They are simply interested in maintaining the material establishment of family attachment and earning some material benefits out of the profession. Maharaja Parikshit had no more than 7 days to live, but for others, Maharaja Parikshit personally recommends that one hear Śrīmad Bhagavatam regularly, nityam, always by one's own effort and with serious devotion also. That will help one to see the Lord Krishna, Lord Shri Krishna manifested in one's heart within no time. The pseudo devotee, however, is very anxious to see the Lord according to his whims, not making any serious effort to hear Śrīmad Bhagavatam regularly and without detachment from material benefit. That is not the way recommended by an authority like Maharaja Parikshit, who heard and benefited by hearing Śrīmad Bhagavatam. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. So, if you see this particular shloka, it says that Shinvata, those who hear, and how they hear with Shraddhaya. So, Shraddhaya means with faith, with full earnestness. Okay. And how do they hear with full earnestness? Nityam, every day regularly. And Grinataha, taking this matter very, very seriously. Swacheshtitam. So he's endeavoring. So except that whatever he has heard, by implementing it in his life. So then he's saying that kalena ati dirghena. So not very, very long time he will take, but within a short span of time, Krishna will enter his heart. He will Ridhi Vishate. Krishna becomes manifest in his heart very quickly. So Krishna will enter into the heart of who has faith, Shraddha. And how continuously if he is, hearing the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. And so when would, when would somebody endeavor to do something when it does not come, naturally? One may not naturally like to hear or chant, the glories of the Supreme Lord. So if one puts one's endeavor to go against one's, natural inclination to do some certain things which are favorable for a particular person's progress in devotional life, then such an act accelerates the entry of Krishna into the heart of a devotee or that particular practitioner. So, like if you see, okay, I was just hearing the other day, who is the owner of Amazon? I don't know. So, actually, selling books was not his passion. Selling books was his, you can say that it was his need. But again and again, when he, kept on selling those books, so with that same practice of selling books, then that became his passion. Like, for example, somebody's passion might not be cooking, but on a daily basis, if somebody is cooking, then he, he becomes an expert in cooking. So similarly, if somebody has this, regularity of again and again consciously hearing the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, then immediately Krishna becomes manifest in that particular person's heart. So this is what Srila Prabhupada is trying to say over here, and the acharyas are trying to say over here. So next. Oh, this is also one very nice shloka. प्रविष्ट कर्णरन्ध्रेण स्वानां भावसरोरुहं धुनोति शमलं कृष्णा सलिलस्य यथा शरद. He's saying that pravishta karnarandrena, the moment the sound incarnation of Krishna will enter into the ears, karna means ears, through the ear holes immediately, then what will happen? Swanam bhava saroruham. So immediately that person will become a liberated person, and he will be situated in his original constitutional position or relationship with the Supreme Lord. And what is then the Lord doing? Then the Lord is Dunoti Shamalam Krishna. What is Krishna doing? Dunoti. Dunoti means he's cleansing. So what is Krishna cleansing? Shamalam. Shamalam means all the material qualities like lust, greed, anger, hankering. Krishna is taking a broom and he is wiping off these material qualities from our heart. And salilasya yathasharat. So he's saying that because like how he's giving an example actually over here. He's saying that just like the rains, what they do, they wash off those dirty muddy pools. So similarly, Krishna is also taking that water and he's washing off that muddy dirty pool of our heart. So let's see the translation. What has to say? Yeah, somebody read this. Vignesh Prabhu, please read.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Translation. The sound incarnation of Lord Krishna, the Supreme Soul, that is Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, enters into the heart of a self-realized devotee, sits on the lotus flower of his loving relationship, and thus cleanses the dust of material association such as lust, anger, and hankerings. Thus it acts like autumnal rains upon pools of muddy water. Purport. It is said that a single pure devotee of the Lord can deliver all the fallen souls of the world. Thus, one who is actually in the confidence of a pure devotee like Narada or Shukadeva Goswami, and thus is empowered by one spiritual master as Narada was by Brahmaji, can not only deliver himself from the clutches of Maya or illusion, but can deliver the whole world by his pure and empowered devotional strength. The comparison to the autumnal rain that falls on muddy reservoirs of water is very appropriate. During the rainy season, all the waters of the rivers become muddy, but in the month of July-August, the autumn season, when there is a slight rainfall, the muddy waters of the rivers all over the world become at once clear. By addition of some chemical, a small reservoir of water, like that of a metropolitan waterworks tank, can be cleared. But by such a tiny effort, it is not possible to clear up all the reservoirs of water like the rivers. A powerful devotee of the Lord, however, can deliver not only his personal self, but also many others in his association. In other words, the cleansing of the polluted heart by other methods, like the culture of empiric knowledge or mystic gymnastics, can simply cleanse one's own heart. But devotional service to the Lord is so powerful that it can cleanse the hearts of the people in general by the devotional service of the pure empowered devotee. A true representative of the Lord like Narada, Shukadeva Goswami, Lord Chaitanya, the six Goswamis, and later Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura and Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura, etc., can deliver all people by their empowered devotional service. By sincere efforts to hear Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, one realizes his constitutional relationship with the Lord in the transcendental humor of servitude, friendship, parental affection, or conjugal love. And by such self-realization, one becomes situated at once in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Not only were all the pure devotees like Narada self-realized souls, but they were engaged in preaching work automatically by spiritual impetus, and thus they delivered many poor souls entangled in the material modes. They became so powerful because they sincerely followed the Bhagavatam principles by regular hearing and worshipping. By such actions, the accumulated material lusts, etc., become cleansed by the personal endeavor of the Lord within the heart. The Lord is always within the heart of the living being, but he becomes manifested by one's devotional service. Purification of the heart by culture of knowledge or mystic yoga may be alright for the time being for an individual person, but it is like the cleansing of a small quantity of stagnant water by chemical processes. Such clarification of water may stand for the time being, and the sediments settle down, but by a slight agitation everything becomes muddy. The idea is that devotional service to the Lord is the only method of cleansing the heart for good. Whereas other methods may be superficially good for the time being, there is a risk of becoming muddy again due to agitation of the mind. Devotional service to the Lord, with specific attention for hearing Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam regularly and always, is the best recommended method for liberation from the clutches of illusion.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much. So, Krishna is entering the lotus of the heart through the ears of the devotees, and he's washing away all that contamination until it is completely pure, like the pools of water in the autumn season. And Krishna, in the form of the Hari Katha, he enters the heart through where he enters the heart through the ear holes, and he's washing away all that contamination. So, what does it mean that Krishna enters into the heart through the ear holes? But somebody might say that Krishna is already there in my heart in the form of Paramatma. So then, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and all the other acharyas, they explain that the Supreme Lord is present in the form of Paramatma. But Paramatma is neutral, Samoham Sarva Bhuteshu. Therefore, when we say Krishna enters in the form of Bhagavan, he enters and attaches the jiva to himself in his Bhagavan feature. So naturally, also by hearing about anything, we develop attachment, and he also washes away the faults like lust and anger. So, but one may say that that even by the practice of even other paths like Gyan Yoga, Ashtang Yoga, all this lust, anger, and all these unwanted qualities are washed up to a great extent. So what is so great about, this process of hearing? So, Srila Prabhupada is mentioning over here that I want to actually just show you all this particular shloka so that it becomes more clearer for us also and for me also, because I'm explaining myself only all these things. I remember this is 28th shloka, 34th shloka, I think it is. Yeah, 30th, yeah. So he's saying that it is true that by practicing restraint of the senses by yoga system, one can get relief from the disturbance of desire and lust. But this is not sufficient to give satisfaction to the soul. For this satisfaction is derived from devotional service to the personality of Godhead. So, in other practices, one may get relief from lust and anger, but this is not sufficient to give, satisfaction to the Lord. So, this satisfaction is derived only by devotional service to the Supreme Lord. So, Gyan Yoga and Ashtanga Yoga, they do not go through this job, in destroying the anarthas. But the Lord is going through this job of actually destroying the anarthas. So, this practitioner of Gyan Yoga, can deliver only himself from lust, greed, and anger. But a pure devotee can deliver the whole world from all these material contaminations that are there. So, such powerful is this Harikatha. What power this Harikatha has. And that is why, actually, it is the desire of Prabhupada that there should be Bhagavatam circles. Now, when I started this Bhagavatam circle, it was actually not my desire, to be very honest. It was a desire of our temple president, His Grace Radheshyam Prabhu, that every house should have a Bhagavatam circle. And that's where just on his words, and those words are so potent and so powerful that now we have Bhagavatam in all 4 languages. I have 4 classes of 4 languages. So I have Bhagavatam of English, Hindi we just started today. Then there is one Marathi Bhagavatam also. And I'm taking one Gujarati Bhagavatam also. These 4 languages I'm taking Bhagavatam. So on a daily basis, 1 hour. And that is why I said 1 hour should be sufficient enough. With Marathi Bhagavatam, we are on halfway to 3rd canto actually, because Marathi Bhagavatam I had started even more before English Bhagavatam. So this is the power of hearing Bhagavatam. So very, very, important. So, okay, let's see the next, what Srila Prabhupada has to say. And oh, this is also very wonderful shloka. Dhautatma Purusha Krishna Pada Moolam Na Munchati Mukta Sarva Pariklesha Pantha Swa Sharanam Yatha. So he's saying that Dhautatma, anybody, Dhaut means washing, anybody's whose heart has been cleansed of what? Cleansed of all that dirt that is there. So Dhautatma Purusha means the person with a pure heart. And then what happens with him? He says that he does not give up. Krishna Pada Moolam Na Muchyati. He does not give up the root of the feet of Krishna. And just like Yatha Pantha, so just like a traveler who giving up all the sufferings after earning great wealth, he does not leave his house. So Swascharanam, so he is not leaving that particular comfort. So such a purified person does not give up the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. So Narad Muni is telling Vyasdev in Canto 1, chapter 5, that even though a devotee of Lord Krishna sometimes falls down, But somehow or the other, he certainly does not go undergo that material existence like what the others are going through. Like the fruitive workers that they are going through. So because a person who has once relished the taste of the lotus feet of Krishna can do nothing but just remember the Lord and remember that ecstasy again and again and again. So I just want to show this shloka. It's a very wonderful shloka. This should be 5th chapter and should be 18th or 19th shloka. Yeah, 19th only, yeah. Yeah, it's saying that even though a devotee of Lord Krishna sometimes fall down, he certainly does not undergo any materialism, like because a person who has once relished the taste of the lotus feet of Krishna, Lord can do nothing but remember that ecstasy again. So even in our lives, if you see, right, when we came into Krishna consciousness, how we were so enthusiastic, how we were so eager, how we were running towards Krishna, we were gushing towards Krishna. So whenever we will have those morose times or those times where we will have our lows, so during our low times, we will remember that, those initial days of our Krishna consciousness, and those days will keep us on going in Krishna consciousness. Like for me, I remember that when we had joined, we had joined, in a house program just near my house, which was just 5 minutes away from my house, in the house of Her Grace Janma Mataji. And that was the Wednesday program. So we came to know somehow or the other that Monday, so-and-so devotee has a satsang program from 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock. So we went there. Then Tuesday, we realized that Her Grace Satyavati Mataji's house, there is a Bhagavad-gītā program. So we used to go over there. Then Wednesday. Thursday, we came to know that in the temple, there is one Bhakti Vriksha program going on. So we used to attend that also. Then Friday, we came to know that Her Grace Radhika Mataji's program is there in Pashan, and that was very, very far away from our house. So we used to go there also. And Saturday, Sunday in the temple only, whole day almost, you can say. Sunday was so literally Mangala Arati. We used to come and we used to go home at Shayan Darshan, like 8:45. We used to move home after having Shayan Darshan. So now those days I remember so much. Oh, there was so much enthusiasm, so much, there's that daily attending Mangala Arati in the morning, and then, coming back and, going to college and going to, your job and all these things. So those days are, so this is what, what I can actually relate with this shloka, that yes, anybody, now we cannot leave Krishna. Now, we are caught up now. We cannot leave. Even if we leave now, we will not be comfortable anywhere. So even if I leave this particular path of Bhakti Yoga, and so for example, I want to be a Brahmavadi, I will not be happy. Or if I want to be a Paramatmavadi, I will never be happy. I'll be frustrated, but I will not be happy. So this is what actually Prabhupada is, trying to say. Actually, there is a question, Mataji. Actually, I started my journey of Krishna consciousness with your SB reading class. I was able to, yeah, this, yeah, you all have experienced. Yeah. So let's go to the next shloka. Okay, we have not read the translation and purport of this, right? Because I just started explaining it. Yeah. Somebody read the translation and purport of this. Vishal Prabhu, please read the translation and purport.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
A pure devotee of the Lord whose heart has once been cleansed by the process of the devotional service never relinquishes the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, for they fully satisfy him as a traveler is satisfied at home after a troubled journey.
So the meaning of relinquishing means to leave. Okay, never leaves the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. Yeah, Prabhu, go ahead.
Purport. One who is Not a pure devotee of the Supreme Lord Krishna is not completely cleansed in the heart, but a perfectly cleansed person never quits the devotional service of the Lord. In discharging such devotional service, as ordered by Brahmaji to Narada in the preaching of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, sometimes a representative of the Lord engaged in preaching work meets various so-called difficulties. This was exhibited by Lord Nityanand when he delivered the two fallen souls, Jagai and Madhai. And similarly, Lord Jesus Christ was crucified by the non-believers, but such difficulties are very gladly suffered by the devotees in preaching, because in such activities, although apparently very severe, the devotees of the Lord feel transcendental pleasure because the Lord is satisfied. Prahlad Maharaj suffered greatly, but still he never forgot the lotus feet of the Lord. This is because a pure devotee of the Lord is so purified in heart that he cannot leave the shelter of Lord Krishna in any circumstances. There is no self-interest in such service. The progress of culturing knowledge by the jnanis or the bodily gymnastics by the yogis are ultimately given up by their respective performers, but a devotee of the Lord cannot give up the service of the Lord, for he is ordered by his spiritual master. Pure devotees like Narad and Nityanand Prabhu take up the order of the spiritual master as the sustenance of life. They do not mind what becomes of the future of their lives. They take the matter very seriously as the order comes from the higher authority, from the representative of the Lord or from the Lord himself. The example set herein is very appropriate. A traveler leaves home to search for wealth in far distant places, sometimes in the forests and sometimes on the ocean and sometimes on hilltops. Certainly, there are many troubles for the traveler when he is in such unknown places, but all such troubles are at once mitigated as soon as the sense of his family affection is remembered. And as soon as he returns home, he forgets all such troubles on the way. A pure devotee of the Lord is exactly in a family tie with the Lord, and therefore he is undeterred in discharging his duty in a full affectionate tie with the Lord.
Oh,
Thank you,
yeah.
Mataji.
So powerful. This purport is very powerful. So, dear devotees, I wish you a very, very happy Krishna conscious Purushottam month from tomorrow. We are starting the Purushottam month tomorrow. And what is our good fortune means what maybe, I don't know what pious activities we have done that in the month of Purushottam, we will be reading the Bhagavatam. And we are reading, and this is the utter mercy of the Supreme Lord, our previous Acharya, Srila Prabhupada. Imagine Srila Prabhupada had not written only this Bhagavatam. What would we be reading in the month of Purushottam? I think we would be just doing sense gratification and, just wasting our time here and there. But this is the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, the mercy of the Acharya, the mercy of our spiritual masters, the mercy of the Supreme Lord himself, who is a Grantha avatar. He has descended himself in the form of a book. That's why we call Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam as the book incarnation of the Supreme Lord. So Krishna has mercifully incarnated himself in the form. Like Krishna has many forms, right? Matsya avatar, Kurma avatar, Varaha avatar and all. So Krishna over here, after he left for his own dham and Kali Yuga started, so he himself came in the form of this Grantha avatar, book form of him. So Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is Krishna himself. There is no difference between Krishna and Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. That is the glory of this particular Grantha. So thank you, dear devotees. Thank you so much for helping me also read Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, getting more attracted to Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. And without devotees, it is very difficult. That is why Prabhupada always says that you will understand Bhagavatam only in the association of devotees. You will not understand the Bhagavatam. So when even I am giving some points, it's not like that I have prepared something and I have come. It is only by the power of you all devotees that I am able to speak something from this end. So only in the association we can understand. I don't think so we can understand anywhere alone, though we have all tried. As soon as I take the book, I go off to sleep. So that weakness I still have. We need to overcome that. But yeah, with the association is so powerful of the devotees. So thank you, dear devotees. Thank you so much. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, गौर भक्त वृंद की जय. हरे कृष्ण.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji Dilupa.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Kṛṣṇa Rupa Mataji, I have a request.
Yes, Prabhu.
Can you please share the link of the Gujarati session of Bhagavatam so that I can share that with my family so they can also attend?
Yes. Sure, Prabhu. Yeah, sure. Definitely.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Mataji.
Jyotiya.